Alex Trias, dude. I don't know what to say except this was such a killer episode of Survivor. Last week I was at Bryce and Wendell's viewing party, so I didn't really get the full uh, kind of details when you're watching at a viewing party. Um, you don't hear every single thing. So we had a blast last week. So thank you, Bryce and Wendell, for having me. It was awesome. Tonight I was able to be focused in my living room. The dogs are on the couch with us. And dude, I absolutely loved this episode from beginning to end. And the tribal council was one of the craziest that I've seen in a long time. And I loved it. And I'll say this, Survivor, to win Survivor, there is a lot of luck involved because tonight some people had good luck and some people had really terrible luck. And that's the game. That's the game you sign up for. You don't know what advantages or idol nullifiers or this or that. And tonight was just shows that anything can happen in Survivor.
Anything can happen. Oh man, it's just like what a whirlwind that episode was. Like Survivor season 45 is hitting on all cylinders for me. That the character work has been so good that I was so invested in everything that was going on this episode. All these relationships, all these people were like, we have the losing, the people that were vulnerable. Like in my head, I immediately went like, this has to be Jay because all these other people, we have invested so much time into them. I'm not ready to let go of them.
No.
So, the right result happened. Sorry to Jay for that having to be you being on the bad end of good luck for someone else was bad luck for you. But we were so excited. We didn't even say, welcome to Reality After Show.
Yeah, I know.
We're covering episode 6 of Survivor. Johnny's doing his watch parties that you can find on SurvivorTix.com or VillainTix.com. And that's SurvivorTix.com. He's out in Charlotte with Davey from David vs. Goliath and Dan Monchel, my co-host for the Challenge podcast. They're all great events. Go to those links. But Matt, let's break down the episode.
Yeah, dude. So obviously Brando went home last week, which I was fine with. I didn't have like necessarily a problem with him, but there's such a group of characters that I like right now, and that I'm like, oh, please don't go home. So Emily, it's night 11 after Tribal. Emily, felt good about how the vote went. And then, Kendra is like, look, no hard feelings on the way things went down. But at the same time, in a confessional, we see Kendra saying like she's really devastated about how that went down with Brando, and that she wants to more or less get revenge on Emily in the future. Which I'm like, dang it, I like the fact that people are kind of revengeful. Like how Austin wants Jay gone because of the sandwich thing. Now you have, Kendra kind of, mad at Emily here. So I love the dynamic of people wanting revenge, because sometimes Survivor gets to be in such a like happy-go-lucky kumbaya vibe that I like when there's backstabbing and scheming, Alex.
Yeah, I feel like this group has, at least what we've been shown, is very much a we'll all be kumbaya after this game is over.
Yeah.
But in this game, you took a sandwich away from me and you're dead to me.
Yeah. I know. He must really been starved.
Buddy, it's been a full episode cycle and dude's still talking about revenge for a sandwich. I'm living for it. I'm living for it. Well, I love Kendra being like, I understand Emily was the flip, but Emily being the flip is why I'm more mad at her. I expected it from Drew. I expected it from Austin. I didn't expect it from you. So I'm going to remember that for the future.
Yeah, and I do feel that with these shorter games and they don't give them really any food, that like people really are starving more than you see on television because like Kendra later is like freaking out
Over
at the
revenge.
thought of food. Like we saw her eat the worm last episode or try to or whatever. And yeah, food is a big thing. And if you're not eating, your emotional state and everything is like completely discombobulated. So I imagine, like I said, it's a lot more difficult out there when you're playing this season than people realize. Like even though it's
I
shorter, it's
agree. I
gnarly.
agree. It's like I know people are talking about like that. Obviously, 39 days. We all want 39 days.
Yes.
We all want the regular format, but like I do feel like it undercredits the difficulty of having to play a shorter game.
Yeah.
Like you lose 13 days to make those relationships, especially towards the end game, and like those like pivotal moments where you're at those points of like your breaking point. Because Cass was on Rob's podcast this past week, and she was
Chaos
talking about
Cast.
how yeah,
Yeah.
and she was talking about how in the 39-day format, it's usually around that day 24 to day 26 time where people hit that breaking point of, okay, I can keep pushing or I'm checking out.
Yeah.
And, but that discounts in a 26-day game having a lot less fuel for your fire. Like, whereas
Mhm.
day 39, you get multiple rewards at like across all the cycles instead of just like, oh, you'll get it at your immunity, and it's not even going to be that much at that. You don't get rice, you don't get all your working supplies, you get your flint taken away, even though like fire's not as necessary at this point in Fiji. But
Mhm.
there's definitely difficulties. I'm glad you're bringing that up.
Yeah, 100%, dude. So after we go to that kind of scene after tribal, it's Lulu day 12. Caleb is looking for an idol, and then so is Kelly, Bruce, and Jake. Because it's like now's the time to start doing stuff. And the thing is like when everyone is looking for an idol or some sort of advantage, uh, it is an interesting dynamic because a lot of times you want to search for something, find something on the down low that no one knows about. But this is completely out in the open. And what happens is Bruce ends up finding this beware advantage. And Bruce says, like, look, I'm not even worried about this beware advantage. I'm embracing finding this. I'm cool with it. I don't care if there's kind of a risk thing here. And I think this like goes to show you that Bruce is embracing this second chance he has at playing the game. And he's like, look, I'm going to go for it and just see what happens. Like, I don't know, like if I would want everyone to kind of see me find the thing, but it is what it is. So
It
his
is.
beware.
It is.
Yeah.
Let's sort of talk about Bruce here,
Yes.
because I love Bruce. I enjoy him. The people that I love in games, I'm still going to critique, if not critique more,
Right.
because like I see what they could do,
Right.
and I feel like the bigger reason that he doesn't say like why he's good with taking the beware advantage now as opposed to taking an advantage earlier. Once he got through a cycle, it's different. And also, I think like we're seeing with him is that he has this huge need to be in control.
Mm-hmm.
Be in control, be the leader, have the weapons. Like I'm now important because I have the idol.
Right.
I have it, you don't have it, so you need me. I get to still be in control because I
Yeah.
have the power.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like an old school mindset. I feel like very. It sort of gives, and we'll see later in the episode, like semi Boston Rob energy
Mm-hmm.
of like these are your people. You shouldn't be talking to other people, and more
Yeah.
importantly,
Right.
you should be talking to me and not anyone else.
Yeah. Bruce is I mean, sometimes he talks about himself like he's this like really famous guy. Uh
That part
which I
cracks me up.
it's just like, and this is nothing against that. I mean, when you do play Survivor, you do or at least I did. I got recognized everywhere. But at the time, I had like a crazy long dreadlock beard covered in tattoo. I had a really unmistakable appearance to me. So I was easy to spot at like the store. Um, Bruce only being in the game one day, I don't see how really famous he could be. It's your 15 minutes of fame.
And maybe that's another part of why he's in this obsessive need for control, is because of he lost control by hitting his head, and his what he would have wanted was no longer possible because he was pulled from the game. So now he's in this second chance, and he maybe subconsciously is just like, I need this. Like, I need to have all these things. I need to be the focal point. I need to be the leader because I didn't get to have that chance. I lost that chance. This is my new chance, but I'm reliving that moment over and over again. Like, that's replaying. That's his like the whole TikTok trend of like, how much do you think of the Roman Empire? Is Bruce thinking about all those times that he had to be medically evacuated from the game?
Yeah, right. It's funny because Bruce says a lot of wacky ass shit and does dances and so my wife, we're like watching. She's like, I wonder if Bruce is related to Philip Shepard. I said, I don't think so, but I mean, I could see it being like a fucking, distant cousin or some shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, Bruce finds it, and then the beware advantage is this: you either find the idol, and until you find it, you lose your vote. So the stakes are really high. So Bruce goes looking for the idol, which is at camp right under the shelter in the sand. So he's digging in the sand, and kind of everyone's kind of like watching out, kind of on guard. And then Katura kind of walks back to camp, and they have to act like, oh, everything's cool. And then Jake's got this master plan of like, I'm going to pretend like I lost my ring or something and be all pissed off and pretend like we're looking for my ring. Now, do you feel that that's a little bit suspect there as a decoy plan?
I mean, it's always suspect, especially when like, I love the cheeky wink to the camera as he's doing it. He's like, "Oh my god, my rings!" Like, I love it. It's just like, I feel it's someone who's had to sit on his hands for so long because they never gone to tribal, and Jake's like, "Oh, this is the perfect time for me to get to do something. Let's do something fun. Oh, I lost my ring. Let's go find my ring so that Bruce can find this idol."
Yes,
and he does find it at the very last, or at least editing wise, at the very last moment before.
Yeah, because the boats come up and say, "Hey, we're leaving
we're going
your
to
beach."
one beach.
Yeah, so it's obviously merged, but not really. So yeah, he's lucky that he finds it before he leaves that camp. So he now has a full blown idol. So it's drop your buffs, and they all come to one beach. And what beach did they land on? Which was it, the original? Do you know which tribe's beach that was?
They went to Old Reba.
Old Reba.
Or original Reba Beach.
Okay. Now, this is cool because everyone now is kind of talking, scrambling. It's like overwhelming because it's kind of like some people have relationships from previous tribes, and it's just trying to find your footing in here. So I love it, and I'm cool that we're at this stage of the game where it's just no three tribes anymore. It's basically from here on out merge time.
Yeah, and obviously earn the merge and all that.
Yeah,
I'm so interested to see like when has juries started, because like we saw in season 43 they had to earn the merge, and then Dwight still went home at the first like merge vote, and then jury started. But we see tonight for the next time on, 2 more people are leaving next week. So are they doing a jury of 9 and a final 3? Are they potentially doing a final 2? We don't know yet. also, like, I just briefly, because I feel like we talk about it each season about that, but like, what are your thoughts on like making the merge portion? We won't count this episode, but like, say like a future episode, like whoever goes home next week doesn't make jury. Like, what are your thoughts on not making jury after making the merge tribe?
I think if you make the merge tribe, that you should be on the damn jury, dude. Like you've made it this far into the game. You have earned that. Survivor is hard. It is hard physically, mentally, like every single thing about it is hard. And so like to be able to have that individual shot, you should 100% be guaranteed as part of the jury. That you should earn it. So I would be really pissed. I mean, I'd be pissed if next week if two people go home, if like one of, I don't know. I hope that it's the way we want it to be.
And you know what? I'm glad that they're doing that now and not at Final 10. Just like get it out of the way and then let's get to regular rounds moving forward. Right. It's like let's do it. Let's have fun with that. So we see here they're reconnecting and we're seeing the dynamics again. Like they're rehashing the dynamics for us. Like so we have that the 4 strong alliance of Reba coming back together in D, Julie, Drew, and Austin. We see Caleb and Emily coming back together, understanding that they could have the potential to be the swing votes moving forward if they play the game correctly. And then you have Bello coming back in, and primarily Kendra reuniting with Bello and like sort of telling them like, "Hey, watch out for Emily. She snaked me. Mm-hmm. She gave Reba power." Right. Which then leads us to an interesting interaction of Emily and Bruce, and Emily is just like in confessional. I'm glad that she brought it up in confessional too, of just like I'm so embarrassed by what I decided to say that day. Like I wasn't even thinking. I'm just being a contrarian. I just wanted to say shit. Shit.
No, and I love this because, like I said, I went. If you think back to episode 1 of the podcast, I hated Emily like one of the most hateable players I've ever witnessed. And I quickly decided that was, I changed my mind. I love Emily. So I love that she's like apologizing to Bruce. And Bruce is like saying, yeah, it's cool. All is well. But then you have a confessional with Bruce. It's like, look, I said it's all cool, but I'm not cool with Emily. So, but I do think Emily in her mind thinks that things are smoothed over.
I think she's tentative.
Yeah.
She's like we can forgive each other. Like I have nothing to forgive. Like I'm the one who was the antagonist. Like he can forgive me. I can't fully rely that he's gonna make an alliance with me. I don't even know if I want to make an alliance with him. But I'm gonna try to work on it in a way where that's a potential option. And I think after tonight, that's not gonna be an option at all.
Yeah.
So that then leads us to Austin filling D and Julie in about Sandwichgate.
Yeah.
Hashtag Sandwichgate on Twitter, folks. Austin is not going to let this go. He is pissed at Jay specifically, but also Kelly, that he had to forego a sandwich that he desperately wanted and craved and dreams about at night still to this day. And instead have the amulet, but he explains the amulet to them, and immediately Julie's just like, "Oh, well, it makes sense to vote Jay out then, doesn't it?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Yeah, it sure does."
And like, so what is your thought on Jay? I don't really have a problem with Jay, but like, out of anyone that could have gone home tonight in that scenario, I'm glad that Jay was the one that went home.
Based how she was edited, she's the archetype of what we tend to see go out on this earn the merge phase. It's like ultimately an inoffensive in terms of the edit pick of she was around, but she wasn't a focal point. She was being played by people thinking she was in a potentially better position than what she was, and now she goes, whereas the other 5 options that we had on the table all were interweaved. You could say Caleb would have been a very big lean towards the opposite way of who goes out on this type of vote.
Yeah.
And he would have if it wasn't for his shot in the dark.
Yeah.
I feel for her. I feel like there was probably more to her story than what they gave to us because of where she goes out.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm
Jeff
very interested to hear her like exit press.
Yeah, because Jeff was like said to her on the way out that like it's been great having you or something. So I don't, he doesn't say that to everyone that gets voted out. So I feel that he was probably truly bummed and saw something in her that we maybe as a viewer did not see, because as a viewer, it wasn't like I was like highly like, go Jay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so also yeah, they have this Austin has this idol, but it has a expiration date unless he chooses to like lose his vote again, which will then extend his idol for more longer term. And then we have this little green like stick bug.
Yeah,
like
the stick bug.
Yeah.
I love the dancing stick bug and everyone having a great time, but Drew. Because Drew hates that anyone's having fun. Like it's Drew like perplexes me. Like I'm very confused by him. Like part of that's because I'm rooting against him, and I know that. I'm aware of that for myself. I like Drew because I get to root against him. Because his confessionals are all about, well, I want to have control again. Like he's a younger Bruce, taller, slender man version of Bruce. And he's just like, I don't want to do the pleasantries. I don't want to do the small talk again. Like I want to draw the lines and be the king of the table again. And then you just like hear him trying to talk strategy with Austin, and you can see how annoyed he is in his face when you hear everyone laughing and partying with the stick bug.
Yeah. Well,
and I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely, I think, gets intimidated by stuff. And we even see it later on where he was like, I felt like the nerd at a sorority party that, you know, I think Drew's like an insecure person, right? And I think that now that he's in, this bigger group, he feels threatened a bit because he's not, you know, fully in control.
And I love, and let me say again, how great it is to have 90-minute episodes where we get to hear these people really like articulate these insecurities in terms of the game. Like we have these people that were leaders on their camps, and they get to this portion and they're all like, I don't feel like I have control anymore. I'm very upset that I don't have control. And that goes straight into like we have this segment of Caleb talking to everybody. Caleb and Emily are like, we're gonna spread our wings, talk to both sides, figure out what's going on. And during that segment, we then see Bruce. Bruce is just by himself, isolated. He feels like he's a pariah, and he's starting to spiral, specifically on Caleb, because Caleb's talking to Reba people. But more importantly, he's not talking to Bruce. And Bruce pulls him in. He's like, I can't be the leader here. I can't be the leader here. And when you're going off and talking to people that aren't in our group, that's a problem. And I need you to only talk to our people, and you need to fix this.
Yeah. Yeah, and Caleb basically says that Bruce is stupid for acting like this.
And he is.
You know what I'm saying? Kelly says Bruce is a liability. She's over that dude and wants to blindside Bruce. But yeah, Bruce is you can tell when no one's kind of talking to him that he seems like a little bit like, no one's talking to me. That would suck. Being
that absolutely would suck. But like, I feel like part of that you have to look inward and be like, well, what's the energy you're putting out there?
Yeah, I hear
because like I think Couture's just like Couture's just sitting back in her confessional, be like, see, they all see what I see now.
Yeah, no, totally,
dude. You're putting out this energy of like being annoying, maybe being disrespectful, not like intentionally. I feel like a lot of it's just, you know, it's part of you're in a game where you're starving and you're hangry and things are going to be unleashed on specific people on just because it is what it is. It's a pressure cooker.
Yeah, it is.
Survivor. But I think Bruce is just at this point in time isn't able to handle that well because he's coming in with this old school mentality of I have my group, and this group has to go against the other group, which means
Mhm.
you need to be tight with us. It doesn't matter what the other people are.
Oh yeah, and
Oh yeah, and I brought
Stockade
this up
Kid,
earlier,
yeah,
Stockade. Definitely Boston, like attempting Boston Rob Redemption Island vibes.
yeah, he does. Yeah, it's definitely has that vibes. Do I think that he's anywhere close to Boston Rob? I mean, I know Johnny kind of like talks shit on Boston Rob, but I think Boston Rob was great in the game of Survivor. Are you a fan of Boston Rob?
I'm always gonna be Team Fairplay before Team Boston Rob. Like
Yeah,
I can appreciate what Boston Rob did for Survivor and his skills as a player.
yeah,
I'm someone who personally doesn't respect, or I shouldn't say respect, but I don't weigh his win that high because I feel they just handed him a cast that was gonna guarantee him success.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
lame. That's
and like
that part's lame.
I couldn't see Probst setting up a cast of where like everyone's a fan of Fair Play and will bow at the knee of Fair Play. You
Yeah,
know, like he gave his boy Boston Rob a great chance at success, and then was like, "Well, if you screw up here, I don't know what else I could do for you. I gave you
yeah.
a bunch of dummies."
Right. And speaking of that, if you are a fan of Jonny Fairplay, which I'm assuming you are, he's in the top right corner of the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. Uh, Jonny Fairplay does viewing parties this season for both Survivor on Wednesday nights and on Thursday nights. He is the hit, the star of the hit reality television show called House of Villains on E! So, if you would like to see all of the tour dates that Johnny has lined up, go to survivortix.com, survivortix.com, or villaintix.com, but they take you to the same place. So just to make it easy, just remember one, survivortix.com. You will find all the events that he's doing, and he's doing some stuff in Cincinnati, Ohio, November 29th is the Survivor Party. November 30th is the House of Villains Party at a place called The Pitch here in Cincinnati. If you've never been to one of these viewing parties, I highly suggest that you go to it. You get to meet a lot of cool reality stars, have intimate conversations, get photo ops, buffs, autograph pics, you name it. I think it's like $25 general admission for the Survivor
Like,
stuff, 75
yeah.
bucks VIP.
But
But you get a
I will
freaking buff.
always say MVP, the VIP, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like you have more chances to have those one-on-one time with Johnny and the other Survivor and reality TV guests that show up, as well as potentially people from this season. You didn't hear it here. You didn't hear it here. But yeah, it's like you have more opportunities, and I always feel that Fair Plays events are very well organized, very well set up for you to have the most chances to have these interactions with these people that you're here to see.
Yeah, it's super fun. So definitely check that out. So it's now day 13, and basically it's sort of a merge, but not totally.
Yeah, it's the earn the merge challenge. The staple of the new era.
So basically you're in two groups of 6. They draw rocks for this. And so if you draw a rock that does not have a color, you are not able to participate. And what happens is you can say, hey, I think this team or this team is going to win. You're placing a bet more or less. So if the team wins, you're a part of that deal. If the team loses, you're screwed. You're a loser, just like the losing tribe. So the team that wins this gets a merge buff, a merge feast, and immunity. The tribe that loses goes to tribal council, does not necessarily get directly into the merge. So yeah, I mean, this is the biggest stakes of the game right here. And it's a multi-stage, you go under this net, get all muddy, then you get on a cart, and then you get puzzle pieces, and you got to climb up a bunch of. There's all kinds of shit.
There's multiple climbing parts. There's multiple puzzles that two different people have to do. Both, but could have made the puzzles harder. Could have made them harder if you're gonna make such an emphasis on two puzzles and puzzles being the great equalizer. It's not an equalizer when it's just an 8-piece puzzle, and
it's not.
the
But I will
rebus
tell
is
you,
very easy.
yes, but I will tell you this: watching this, the amount of physicality and the mud and the climbing and the nets, I was like, dude, I would be freaking exhausted, dude, during this challenge.
Oh, I agree.
It was wild. And I'm glad they didn't put a commercial break too. I'm glad there's no commercial break mid-challenge.
I feel like they've set it up pretty well. I still expect them to have that episode where they do the multiple stage and the commercial. And I at this point, I will deal with it.
Yes, I will,
because I think so far they have structured their episodes so well with their timing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the challenge is brutal. We got our two teams. So on blue, we have Sifu, Drew, Bruce, Austin, Julie, and Kendra. Then on red, you have Caleb, Jay, Jake, D, Emily, and Kelly. Katura gets the no-colored rock. So she gets to make her bet.
Yep.
And she ultimately puts her bet on blue. And I was like watching this with my sister, and she was asking, like, do you think she made the right pick? And I was like, well, physically, I would say yes. Physically, yes. Right. They have more of the physical people overall. Red does have the better puzzle people, but like if you're so physical, you get such a big lead on these type of puzzles, you're gonna win. So I feel like she made the right choice there, but I also feel if blue were to have lost and she was an option amongst that group, there's more options in that group for people that could go home just based off, I would assume, what her perception would be based off of what you see on red.
Right.
So like, and especially Bruce is there. So if they lose, then she can try to get Bruce out.
Yeah. Dude, I hear ya.
I'm sure that's actually a big part of her decision making, was like, which group has Bruce? Oh, did we lose Matt? Oh no. Matt, where are you, man? I'll just talk then. While we wait to see what's happening with Matt. Okay, so let's talk about the challenge while we wait for Matt to come back. Grueling challenge. The red group didn't really have a chance as soon as Jay was struggling underneath that net. Like it got them so far behind that so okay, it was it was Matt. He'll be right back. So Jay gets so far behind on the mat that it's sort of like you're at a dead end there, because with blue just getting such a dominating lead by having the more physical people, they're already up the rock before the other group is climbing up the sandbags to get onto the net. And then you look at those puzzles. The puzzles were a rebus puzzle, and and just words based off of the rebus puzzle. So you get all that in, and Matt is back.
Well, okay, so here's the deal. Let me I'm gonna make sure my bad. I'm gonna I need to set some settings.
Okay, yeah, Matt will be right back. So we see the red. We see red ultimately lose. The blue group of Sifu, Drew, Bruce, Austin, Julie, Kendra, and now Katura are now safe, and they have earned the merge. They get to have their merge feast at the sanctuary where good things happen, apparently. First time I ever heard that. We never heard Jeff say good things happen at the sanctuary. Am I right, folks? And that leaves Caleb, Jay, Jake, Dee, Emily, and Kelly vulnerable. And my initial reaction to that was Jay's in trouble. You already have her own tribe throwing her under the bus. But I was also thinking in terms of the edit, is that too good to be true? Like, is it too clear of an edit? Are they going to try to tell us it's going to be Caleb eventually? Because Caleb's just been such a focal point, and with the other options on the table, I just didn't see a world in terms of the story that they've been telling us this season, and in the episode in particular, that Jake, Dee, Emily, or Kelly would actually be in any danger whatsoever. So we have all that. We get to the sanctuary where Julie's just like, who's going to be the person who pitches a name? Who's going to get the ball rolling? Because we're 7 people. We can have the power. And Sifu is the first one to throw a name, and he pitches Jay, and he starts talking about how Jay put my name down. She's not Reba strong. We're good with voting out. We're good with voting her out. And Julie backs him up, and Austin and Drew are like, yeah, we're good. We're good with that. And some people are like half buying it, some aren't. But then Kendra and Julie bring up Caleb as an option, and Katura brings up Emily. But then Bruce brings up Caleb, and Bruce starts pushing on Caleb. He's like, yep, he's social. He talks to people. He has to go. And I'm like, Bruce, you turned Caleb into your enemy. Like, Caleb could have been great for you. Maybe short term. Like, eventually Caleb was going to go after him. We knew that. But I feel like Bruce just played it so wrong there. And honestly, part of this is a lot of people, I feel, trying to be a gambler with like, oh, well, I threw a name out for the reason of throwing a name out, and that's the person who's going to go. And so we leave that segment under the understanding that Caleb's in hot water and potentially Jay's in hot water. Emily's name was tossed out there, but it really didn't gain any traction. So we get back to camp, and everyone's sort of freaking out. Like, you have Jake and Kelly, who have never been to a tribal yet, now trying to like get that realization of, oh, we're vulnerable and we could go. So we're going to try to find any possible way it doesn't become us. And Jay is very focused on Emily or Caleb needing to go. And makes sense. It makes sense from Jay's perspective of, I'm Reba strong. I expect Reba to have my back. So I'm going to pitch the 2 people in the middle as our options because, you know, that incentivizes Bello too. Like, why would Bello say no to that? Get rid of someone in the middle. Don't have to lose another number from your side. But things get a little murkier because while Jay believes that she is good with Reba, Dee is going out there throwing her name out to Jake, and Jake sends that over to Kelly, and everyone's just like, but is this too good to be true? Is this too good to be true that the 6 Reba strong are more than willing to just cut one of their people when they have all these other options? And I totally understand that perspective from Kelly and from Jake of like, are they just trying to play us? What's their motivation for wanting Jay out? Like, there's things aren't lining up because we're Bella strong. Like, why would we want to get rid of one of our own people? So you sort of throw that back onto them, and it sort of is what it is there. So Jake, and everyone else on that side, they're still freaking out while everyone else is like out cleaning themselves off. And Katura is adamant on fighting for Caleb to stay, and she's telling the other Bello girls like, we need to keep Caleb. Caleb is good for us. He's good for our game. We need him around. He's a threat, but he's not a threat to us. And they're semi-hearing it, but I don't think they're truly buying in yet, just given what the options are. And she goes to Bruce. And Bruce is like, no, you're wrong. You should feel wrong for even thinking that Jade should be the option. It should be Caleb. Caleb's the bigger threat. We need to be in control. We need to go with the numbers. We need to be voting as a huge block, which I don't understand. I don't understand Bruce wanting this majority vote, this huge majority vote, if he very clearly wants to have lines drawn. So you have that part of the issue. And Matt is back. Hey, Matt.
Yo, can you hear me now?
You sound great.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, dude. Okay, so first of all, this is the most pissed I've ever been on a podcast, probably. And if something's glitchy, I got things going totally haywire on my computer. So last night was Halloween, and my son, he's a DJ, so he uses my computer to DJ. He DJ'd some big party, and the cops busted it up, and so I had to go kind of help him get all his stuff, all that stuff. So when I'm watching Survivor tonight, he had all the gear was all packed up still from last night. And I said, "Yo, dude, please hook up my podcast computer back in the podcast room." So I'm like, "Cool." I came down to do the podcast. Everything's sounding fine, acting fine. And then you and I are in the middle of the podcast, and then all of a sudden everything goes black. And I'm like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
And I look, he had never plugged in the power to the laptop. And since it's an older laptop, the battery just died. I wasn't even paying attention to the battery life. So my computer just went completely dead. So then I'm trying to like replug it in, and like nothing is working, dude. So my major apologies. So
don't worry. We got through. So I talked through the challenge. I talked through Emergatory. We're now back on the beach, and I was talking about how Katuro was fighting for Caleb to stay, and trying to throw Jay out as a number, and Bruce was just like, no, you're wrong. We need to be going as a huge block.
Yeah, Bruce wants Caleb out, and the thing is like having Caleb on the chopping block and as someone who could go home is actually, as much I love Caleb, I do not want Caleb to go home. I think Caleb's my winner pick, if I remember correctly.
I think he was, or at least is one of your top people. Like, I would love a Caleb win. I know Caleb isn't winning this game, but
yeah, he's too much of a threat, dude. He's too much of a threat. Yeah. He's too much of a salesman. He's a self-proclaimed threat. So when people want him out, like Bruce is like, "Hey, I want him out." So at this point, it's like everyone's like, "Dude, like Caleb his social game is so great. His physical game is great." And, I think strategically he's great. I mean, Emily is his number one, and I love the two of them because it's not your typical alliance.
No.
That's what is so cool.
It's that Malcolm and Denise type of relationship.
Yes.
And I love that. I love that, like, they're like not being 100% clocked, because you have this moment where the vote's flipping onto Caleb, but these Reba and Samabello are comfortable enough filling Emily in on that vote. And I'm talking with my sister. I'm like, the very next thing you're gonna see is like Emily's just saying, "Yep, I'm good with this. We're fine. I hate that." And then the next split second, and it's exactly what happened, is her going to kill them. You're in trouble. I need you to know that you are in trouble, so you at the very least know that if all else fails, play your shot in the dark. Like, I want you to have all the chances to survive.
Yeah, and this is great because, yes, 100%, those two are thick as thieves. She warns him, and she even says, I think, like, I don't know if I can do anything to, like, not, like, at the end of the day, Emily, even though she's tight with him, if she goes against the group voting, she's going to get called out for it, and then she's going to be targeted. So, like, she kind of warns Caleb, like, yeah, play your shot in the dark. And look, I don't know if there's anything that I could do. And to me, that is like, she's probably going to have to go with the flow and just vote him,
Right.
put his name down.
Yeah.
So,
And we'll get there because we're about to get into tribal.
yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on before try. So, like, okay, hold on a second. Let me hear. So, Caleb, tells people this is before tribal about Bruce's idol.
Yeah, what you have no incentive to keep Bruce's secrets if because
No.
Emily, like when Emily tells him, he's like, even Bruce, like she's like, he's the one who pitched it. He hates you.
Yeah,
he doesn't like you.
No.
He's like, okay,
No.
I will definitely unleash this then. And so he tells Reba, because like, what do you have to lose? Like when you're in Caleb's position, what do you have to lose? You're most likely gonna go home, and so I'm gonna blow up the people's spots that are blowing up mine.
Right.
And I'm going to make as big of a mess for these people that have to fix for themselves.
Yeah.
And you know what? You did it to yourself. But but like the other big thing going into this tribal is I felt, especially seeing how the first vote goes, I think it was completely mismanaged by Reba.
Yeah.
Because you had Dee, Julie, Austin, like you had so many, and Sifu all pitching actively Jay's name.
Yeah.
So by keeping Jay, you have given Bello and Emily like all this power that they can go to Jay and they can say, and it's up to Jay to believe them or not. But you have told multiple people, we want Jay out. Jay's not in. Jay's not in with us. We're fine with Jay going. How's Jay going to feel about that? Like, Jay thinks she's tight in this group. That this is a tight tribe that isn't.
Yeah.
There's a tight 4. You're not in it.
Yeah.
And, like, you had this whole thing with Julie being like, I'm afraid that she will come and slit our throats. Like, because she's not in, and she will figure it out. Once you have said the name, it's the toothpaste out of the tube thing. Like, you have to vote her. You have to find a way to get her out. It doesn't matter at this point if Caleb's a threat, because you can incentivize yourselves by saying, yes, Caleb's a threat in this game. Totally acknowledged. Maybe there's no other time for us to get him out, but you don't know that. You don't know that. There's so many rounds ahead that he could go home. But you know who he's not targeting? The people who vote to keep him. You know who he is targeting? Bruce. Like you have so many more reasons to keep him than Jay if you are already talking about getting rid of Jay. By keeping Jay in the game, you have all these, you're leaving things up the chance that your game could blow up in your face because you told people stuff you didn't need to tell them.
Oh yeah. And the thing is everyone knows and see throughs Caleb's car salesman like social game, and I don't mean that in like a negative way, but people know that the guy is a likable, charismatic, great smile, great personality person. So they're not going to take him all the way to the end and sit next to him. So, and I feel that there's players like Austin and some others that have plenty of potential to win individual immunities coming up. I don't think it's like Caleb's not like that Jonathan strength guy or some, he could be beat by any number of these women or,
Oh yeah. I think Kendra could win something. I think Kelly could win. I think Dee can win.
Oh yeah. I think
Julie
Katurah
could probably pull out something. Katurah could, like all the girls could, from the guy's side, Caleb for sure. I would say it's the higher end of the guys. I think Jake doesn't have as many chances just for being like stockier. Like it's just his build, not his weight. Like his build.
I worry about him. I worry about Jake because we've seen him.
I think we're past it.
Okay, good. I hope so.
I think we're past that in the edit. Like Drew, how many individual immunities is Drew going to win? Like he's too tall. He's too tall and underweight.
Yeah, he's not winning. He's not
to do
shit,
that
dude.
well unless it's like a purely mental challenge. Which
if they do one of those memory challenges where you got to memorize like
Oh yeah, like I think he
They
would be
show
very
you.
good at that. If there's a physical challenge where the physical part isn't too like consuming of energy, where like
Yeah.
it ends on a puzzle, he could have a chance. But like we'll see. Like I'm sure Bruce is going to pull out a win so that we see more people upset that Bruce is winning something. But um, but like yeah,
Dude.
so it's like you said at the beginning. I love that there's friction and there's going to be
Yeah.
continuous friction amongst these people moving forward into the jury portion of this game.
Yeah, totally. So we go to tribal, dude, and there's still I think it's like 9:05 or something like that.
Yeah, there's like a full 20 more minutes of like air time left.
Yeah, so I was like, wow, what is going down here? Like something is going to be out of the ordinary based off of how long we have left in the episode. So this is where we see Drew says, look, when we did the merge kind of deal, I felt like the nerd at the frat party. Emily speaks about squashing her beef with Bruce. Bruce kind of acknowledges back, even though we both know that Bruce is not all kumbaya with Emily. And then Caleb is an optimist. I like that. He's not giving up at all, even though his back is completely against the wall. He said, "Look, I've heard my name tossed around. There's talking about the Lulu curse." And then this is where Caleb is like, "Look, I'm not the biggest strategic player." So he's trying to like do the salesman pitch again where he's downplaying his strategic gameplay. Yeah, I might be physical and social. Well, dude, survivors outwit, outplay, outlast. So if you have the social, even if you were sucky at strategy, you still have the physical and the social, which are two big components to win the game of Survivor. So, and everyone sees through and knows that you're strategic. But he's simply saying that he's not. And then he calls out Jay and it's like, look, vote for Jay. And then Jay gets all, defensive. So it's more along the lines of a tribal council here where Jay is calling out Caleb, Caleb is calling out Jay, and there's just a lot of back and forth banter amongst these
Yeah.
two players.
Yeah, and then he's like, "This is good for D and Julie's game. Like down, like lesser your threat level by removing a piece." And like D's like confronting, and like you see him like bump this with her after like, "Hey, it's all part of the game." But like, I love that Caleb doesn't back down here when like he gets pressed by all of them. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna say what I need to say. You're voting for me. I know that you guys are all voting for me.
Right.
I'm gonna say what I need to do to survive." And when like he pitches himself, it's like, I don't have ties. Like y'all got people. Like I wish he could have phrased it better when D pressed him on that. And it was like, well, if you don't have pool, then what do you have? And I'm like, what do you bring to the table? I'm like, I felt like for him, he could have been like, hey, like, I will be loyal to those who vote to keep me.
Yeah, right.
And I will remember who kept me. I'll remember even more the people who still chose to not bring me on, because I may not be able to bring people in, but I can be a necessary piece for you, and I can be like that. I can be a sword for you. Like
Now,
you don't call me a shield. I will attack for you.
Do you think people don't realize how tight him and Emily are?
I think like there's probably like a general understanding, and part of it is just like putting yourself in your shoes. Like the Bellow people are gonna think that each tribe is tight with each other because they're, for the most part, they're tight with each other. Their strategy was Bellow strong, so obviously Lulu's gonna stick together. Obviously, Reba's gonna stick together, even though we know everyone's imploding everywhere, left and right.
Right.
But maybe they're not as worried about it because they're like, but there's only two of them.
Yeah, right.
Well, so we get to the vote.
So we go to the vote, and when Caleb goes up to the voting deal, he yells "Jay," which is funny. People are, I think it's funny when people do that kind of stuff.
I love that stuff. Like it reminded me of like Penner in Philippines.
Oh yeah,
just dude, like shouting who he's gonna vote out, even though he knows he's going home.
Yeah.
He shouts Jay, even though he knows he's playing his shot in the dark. Austin banks his vote again so that his idol can be used for the rest of the game, which is good. My only one critique here is I think Emily had the easiest excuse in the world to vote Jay here. I understand why she didn't.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have the power, and her mind was like, it's better to just hide amongst the numbers rather than to even throw a rogue vote. But on that off chance that Kayla's thing hit, you don't have the stress of a revote because you know another name's out there. But we now, I think, officially in US Survivor have the biggest blank does not count from in Survivor history, because Kayla plays his shot in the dark, and for the second time in the history of shot in the dark, it hits, and he gets saved.
And everyone, even people that voted out Caleb, like wrote his name down, was freaking out, celebrating, like, "Oh my god, this is so crazy!"
They're just like, cool. We gotta give you props, man. You got balls of steel.
Yeah,
like, you knew you were going home, and you were like, I'm banking on this 16% chance that I'll be safe.
I know, dude. It was so killer. Like, I was going nuts.
I was literally so excited for him because I was going through like the stages of like acceptance, or grief, and I'm at the point of acceptance. I'm like, you know what? They did this with the one girl on season 43 that was against Gabler. I was like, he got to have a full 6 episodes. He was a focal point. Obviously, production loved him. Jeff loved him. He got to play a shot in the dark. He got to win something. Like, he's gotten to have his airtime and his experience. I'm so happy for him. Like, if he goes, I'm going to hate it, but they gave him some shine. And then when it hit save, I was like, boom, baby, we're rocking.
Oh, dude, it was killer. But so it was a celebration. And so after this happens, there is a revote. However, so Caleb at this point is safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he does not get to vote, though.
Yep.
And there's the shot in the dark, is irrelevant at this point. So everyone starts kind of getting up in like a live tribal where they're just like, what do we do here? Emily's name is thrown out, obviously Jay. And I'm thinking to myself, oh no, because I went from being so happy that he plays a shot in the dark, but then when all the votes are read Caleb, I was like, damn it, because I would hate for him to play the shot in the dark and then there'd be some stupid rule that he could go out again, or if Emily goes home. And so I was like, dude, if Emily goes, that's like the worst luck, because if she would have just wrote down Jay as the one vote, then none of that would have mattered.
Right. But, and there was like a brief pause of that. And I'm talking to my sister while we're watching this. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. If it was going to be Emily, it would have been a bigger story this episode. It's Jay. We're fine. But a little part of me, I'm like, I swear to God, if they vote out Emily here, I'm going to have words on this podcast.
Yeah, I would have been pissed. But yeah, dude, I was like, please, no, don't vote out Emily. At the end of the day, Jay is voted out. And I just am like, wow, what a tribal council. What an episode, dude.
What an episode. And so I'm going to say it right here.
Yeah.
I'm still like, I shouldn't say still, I'm over it. But I get the quits. And if you're mad about the quits, totally justified to be mad at the quits. I don't think even the quits took away from this being one of my favorite pre-juries in terms of episodes and the content we got in a long time.
Yes, because it's 90 minutes,
long time. And it's like, it's not even close.
Yeah, because we're actually able to see these people because it's 90 minutes. It's like, it's going to suck now if they go back to 60, because
I know. I'm hopeful that they see the value of this.
I hope
because they saw the value of shrinking it to 26 days in a financial aspect.
Yeah, right.
Why not see the benefits of how much praise you're getting online and from like reviews and everything about all the positives of this season.
Yeah.
And you're letting your cast shine and make a great show. You're letting the producers have more wiggle room to tell the story that they want to tell, and it's
Yeah.
being received well and organized well, where
know.
the challenges are being timed well into the episode, where you're having a full experience of camp life and strategy, and you're getting the full 9 yards.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
let's keep it going. Let's keep it going in this post-merge phase, baby.
Yeah, I loved it. It was super exciting, super fun, and just entertaining. And at the end of the day, Survivor is here to entertain us. That's what this podcast is for, to entertain the fans that love Survivor. And we give our takes on it. Sometimes we are heated up, but I agree with you. Like, as much as like when the people quit, I was like super pissed. Focal point of keeping it real. But when it's good, I'm going to call it, and it's super good tonight. So once again, Alex, thank you so much. And listen, if you want to see Jonny Fairplay and check out his live events, go to survivortix.com and look for all the dates. And if you want to support the podcast, the best way to do that is to become a patron. And we have a secret Facebook group. We're covering Australian Survivor, doing a podcast on that. We're doing a lot of House of Villains behind the scenes talk on our weekly Q&As. So yeah, realitypatron.com. Is that what it is? Is it
yeah, realitypatron.com. Become a patron for a month. If you don't like it, you'll get your money back. We don't hold hostages. It's the best way to support us. But also, if you're listening to the podcast, give us that 5 stars and a nice review wherever you're listening to it. It helps put our product out there. Same if you're watching on YouTube. Press that like button. Hit that bell for all notifications. Press subscribe. It helps put what we do out there for everyone else, because we're here to entertain. We want to entertain everyone who loves the same shows that we do, and give you guys that good escape. So thank you all who are watching, who are listening after the fact. We love all of you.
And we'll see you next week on another exciting episode of Survivor Season 45. Cheers, everybody, and good night.